Hello, everyone. This is Toshi Shimada, music director and conductor of the Eastern Connecticut Symphony Orchestra. We have an opening concert coming up on October 4th at the Garde Arts Center, 7:30 in evening. We are quite excited to restart our season. For the concert, the program is going to be opening with Johann Strauss Jr.'s Spanish March. We are commemorating Johann Strauss Jr.'s 200th anniversary of his birth. Not 100th, 200th. And we'll have orchestra pieces, Brahms's variation by on the theme of Haydn. And we end the program with Rimsky-Korsakov's Rhapsody Espagnole. However, the major part of this concert is going to be devoted to Elgar's Violin Concerto. And today, I'm so happy to have Nicholas Hammel joining us. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm extremely excited to be opening this season for ECSO.
We don't usually start with a competition winner, but you have been the grand first prize winner of our instrumental competition, and you have impressed juries tremendously. And you play the first movement portion of Elgar's Violin Concerto, and I am really looking forward to collaborating together on October 4th. Now, have you played this piece with orchestra before?
No, I actually haven't. As I'm sure you're probably aware, this piece isn't very commonly played with orchestra,
I
probably because of its length and of its difficulty. So this will be my first opportunity.
Great. Well, let's talk about the difficulty of this piece. It is difficult. I kind of play violin, not as well as you are, but it seems everything technical and everything emotional is installed in this piece. How long did it really take to digest this piece or learn this piece?
Well, it took quite a while. So this will actually be my third time learning this piece. I always find that coming back to pieces, uh, especially by the third time, I finally have a grasp of the piece, and especially for a piece of this nature. So back back at the start of this year in January, that was my first time learning the piece, and then I came back to it over the summer, and then I just now picked it up about a couple weeks ago for this final time. And I feel like the first time going through a piece, you're really getting all the technical aspects of it. The second time, you're finally starting to grasp the musical aspect. And then the third time, I'm bringing them together. Because I think Elgar, he kind of uses the technical difficulty of the piece to actually bring tension into the music in a really beautiful way.
Mhm. Yeah, great. It was written for Fritz Kreisler in mind, of
Mhm.
course, great Viennese violinist for the past century. And of course, he helped, I guess, Elgar some of the passage to make it more difficult in a way.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I,
Thank you,
I'm not
Chrysler.
not going to be thanking him for that.
Yeah, really. But anyway, let's talk about the emotional level of this piece. And it's quite being Elgar, of course, he writes very emotional music, and being the kind of a later part of his life in the way he wrote this piece. How difficult it is when you're performing to not to get involved too much into the emotional, or do you get really involved?
Well, I think there are two schools of thought. I think a more old school version of this thought is that you should remove yourself emotionally from the music, and then you will be able to play the emotions even more devotedly. However, I like to go with the second school of thought, which is that I should be experiencing these emotions as I play the music, and that will make it even more genuine. So, to answer your question, I actually don't try to remove myself. I'm trying to live them as I play the music.
I'm glad to hear that because I'm for your second version of the performance practice. And let's talk about the piece itself. It was completed in 1910, so it's quite an early part of the last century
Mhm.
in the Victorian Edwardian era. And so people might think that,
Wait, you accidentally muted yourself, Toshi.
there we go.
There you
Thank you. So I'll just go back. So, people might think this is old-fashioned music, but it's not. The music can really speak as us really deeply through this piece is really emotional in a way. And you could almost tell what Elgar was thinking, feeling as we listen to this piece. The piece in particular is unusual things is a big cadenza at the very end of the concerto, which is really involved emotionally way and then of course technically way. And when I first start studying piece, I said, "Wait, this is a really strange piece," and I just couldn't digest it. I was like 20 in my 20s, and uh, and more and more I perform this and study piece. I understand he had to have that cadence at the end
go.
to make a final statement. And so by the time that cadenza comes, you have played all the notes up and down and everywhere and everything. How tiring is it?
Uh,
That
I think at least when I perform this, I am extremely tired at that point. And I think that's partially the point. Uh, the way that the emotion will come through in this cadenza is that the musician, the whole orchestra, the audience, everyone has to be extremely exhausted,
yeah,
devastated. And then we have, I wouldn't call it a glimmer of hope, but like this sudden nostalgia when we're taken back to the first movement.
yeah,
And it's very painful. And only from there can we emerge in like the glorious ending that he brings.
yeah. I mean, you're right on, I think, about that point. So there's of course funny inscription in the music, the Spanish inscription. Aquí está encerrada el alma de somebody, dedicated to reference to somebody. But it really doesn't matter this part, I think, to me. It's a very personal thing. And but it just he is speaking to the audience through you, violin and the orchestra accompanying, and that type of a piece, I think. And many musicologists was trying to find who was this person that he was referring to. But what do you think about that?
I mean, I kind of agree with you. It doesn't matter quite who it was dedicated to, because it's similar to another piece you wrote, the Enigma variations.
Yeah,
There's one variation where we don't know who it was dedicated to, but
exactly.
it doesn't change it because he's so specific with the character and the emotion, and that's really what's important to the dedication is the spirit of the person rather than exactly who they were.
Great. So now, kind of leave off the Elgar, but I'd like to know more about you, and our audience really would love to know you. Can you give us some background of yours, where you were
Yeah, of course.
from?
So I grew up in Austin, Texas. I moved there when I was 5 years old.
All
It's an
right.
amazing place. Keep Austin weird is what we say.
Willie
Um,
Nelson country.
yeah, Willie Nelson, exactly. So I grew up there, and then I stayed there for my undergraduate degree. And
Ah,
actually, through high school and then through my undergraduate, I studied with Sandy Yamamoto.
oh,
She's a
wow.
former
Yeah,
second violinist of the Miro Quartet. She's an amazing
yeah,
musician.
yeah.
But I actually attribute most of like my musicality and my emotional feelings towards her because
Mm,
I think she instilled in me a certain sense of musicality since she was a quartet musician, and I think quartet is the most introspective and the most personal type of chamber
mm,
music.
yeah.
So I think a lot of my music making has that personality where it's very introspective. um, so thank her for all of that. And then after my undergraduate at UT Austin, I went to Boston and did my first master's at New England
Oh,
Conservatory
my.
with
Really?
Don Weilerstein. Yes,
Oh, wow.
and now I'm pursuing a Master of Musical Arts at Yale University with Ani Kavassian.
Fantastic.
Yes.
You have a wonderful pedigree, wonderful teachers.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. And other musical activities you have besides you have to
Musical
with Yale School
activities.
Music?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I mean, it's always string quartet has always been my passion. I was
Mhm.
talking about my previous teacher. I
Yeah,
think I kind of inherited that from her. I love quartet. Um, I'm also performing with Yale Philharmonia, as you
yeah,
probably know, and
yeah.
I'm also going back to Austin later this month, and I'm going to be playing with the Austin Chamber Music Center there.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
lots of chamber music. It's my favorite.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that helps actually in performing with the orchestra too, because you have this talent and knowledge and gift of listening to others and then communicating with them.
Hmm.
I think that helps a great deal for me to have a soloist that you could really listen to the orchestra. Because
Yeah,
in the past, many soloists comes and they just don't listen or don't understand what's going on in an orchestra, and I have a hard time really accompanying, you
yeah.
know. But when I listen to your uh, competition, I was sort of impressed that you had a great rapport with the companies too, in a way, and so
Well,
that's
it's funny
another.
you mentioned that, because it was both of our favorite concerto, the Elgar
Ah,
Concerto, me and my pianist Jarong. And we
ah,
decided for this upcoming semester, we love Elgar so much, so we're going to play Elgar Violin Sonata for my
excellent.
recital this year.
Excellent.
So,
That's
yeah.
great. Wonderful. So, okay. And anything else you would like to do in this interview? Say something. Or,
I mean, I'll go ahead and invite the audience. I have my recital at near the end of October, at
oh,
October
good.
18th,
Uh-huh.
4:30 p.m. at Sudler Recital Hall on
Yeah,
Yale
yeah.
campus.
That's
So
wonderful.
I'll be playing Beethoven Violin Sonata number 7. It's very stormy. It's reminiscent of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, I would think. And then I'll be playing a short contemporary piece to be determined. And then we'll end the program with Elgar Violin Sonata. So if you like the Violin Concerto, I'm sure you'll love the
Yeah,
sonata.
that's
He
great.
does a similar thing where he brings back material from an earlier movement at the end of the piece. And I think it really adds to the nostalgic feeling of everything.
And it's how much is admission to that?
It's free
Well, there we
admission.
go. Free
Exactly.
recital to hear excellent
Yeah.
violinist. That's great. And date is again?
October 18th at 4:30 p.m.
Okay. But prior to that, on October 4th, we'll perform Elgar's Violin Concerto. And again, as Nick has invited everyone, please join us. And it'll be grand concert. And after the concert, there'll be reception upstairs in the lobby, and you get to meet Nick and speak to him. I hope you'll be there too. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, and see you at the concert.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.